You might have to wait till after.
Okay,
I'm going to call this meeting to order, appointing the village council. It's 5 o'clock on Tuesday, July the 28th. The land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that this land on which we are gathered today is part of the ancestral land of the Chippewa, Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples, referred to collectively as the Anishinaabe. It is through the connection of the Anishinaabe with the spirit of the land, water, and air that we recognize their unique cultures, traditions, and values. Together as treaty people, we have a shared responsibility to act with respect for the environment that sustains all life, protecting the future for those generations to come. Is there anyone with pecuniary interest?
have not known.
And if anything comes up at a later time, you can raise it then. And we're going to move down to public meetings. St. Clair parking proposal. And we have a request to present Jordy Bettridge as first. So Jordy, you have 10 minutes. Can, who would like to be my clock? Can you?
Oh, clock? Okay, I was gonna move to let him in.
Oh, yeah, do that.
Let him in for a drink.
I forgot to.
I'll second.
Okay. Can you time for me
Yep.
when? Because I tend to. Who's that? Let me keep speaking. Thank you, Jordy.
No, thank you.
Jim's got your presentation up.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, and members of council and staff. I appreciate you letting me speak with you tonight. I am in here to support the proposed community parking and trail access hub, and to also share some additional information that wasn't available during the consultation. I believe this proposal is about creating a gateway to explore Point Edward, not simply creating parking. When people hear parking lot, they think cement or asphalt. When I hear parking lot, I see potential. I see families walking down to the waterfront. I see cyclists biking down underneath the bridge, coming up Michigan and going for lunch and supporting small businesses. I see visitors discovering more businesses that they didn't know were down on Michigan or up on St. Clair and Light Street. Point Edward has already invested in an outstanding waterfront. I see this as an opportunity to maximize and build on that investment. If you look at the map here, this is just for visual sake. There could be a bunch more red dots up there, but this route here is approximately 4 kilometers in distance. There's approximately 24 small businesses already on that loop. And what I've done actually is I've gone to most of the small businesses. Obviously, it's tough to always catch the business owner when they're there, whether they were coming to my business and I wasn't there because I was approaching other small businesses. But one of the common threads when speaking to these business owners was, how do we support each other? How do we support small businesses within the village? And how do we connect those two business hubs? So we've got obviously downtown on Michigan, we've got our hub of myself, Crossworks, Sarnia Produce, Point Brewing, Davy Jones, all those other local businesses. In our mind, the multi-purpose path was a great way to support that. The challenge being is how do we service our end of that multi-purpose path and start driving people back and forth? Realistically, that multi-purpose path has a short span that it can be utilized. Not many people are going to be using it during the winter months just because of ice and snow and things like that. But how can we make it a destination so people from Sarnia and Brights Grove and those visiting family might come and explore Point Edward, right? So it's one of those things I said to a friend of mine who has 2 young kids. I said, if there was a destination to service that end of the parking lot, what would you do with it? And he said, well, we normally go out for breakfast on Saturday mornings. I said, okay. And he's like, we might load up our kids' bikes, bring them down there, park there, and then tour down. Maybe we hit Albert's Fries or somewhere for lunch, or we hit somewhere for breakfast, but then we hit Bridge Patisserie for a coffee. Or if it is a lunch break, you're hitting Los Puntos, or you're hitting match or things like that. It's a way of discovering or using a lot of the village coming back around. And then I know for myself, leaving work on a Friday, I go to Davy Jones every Friday. I go to Sarnia Produce every Friday. But how can we get people outside just the village doing the same? So give them a destination and look at it in a way that let's drive as much tourism and revenue into the village as we possibly can. Again, community benefits, support local business, tourism, active transportation. Success shouldn't be measured by how many people discover Point Edward, but by how many more people are using Point Edward, because we are one of a kind here. Our waterfront and even the overall area with Canaterra and things like that, right? We can go to the next slide there, Jim. Marketing is a big part of it. It's I've said this to many people. We need to look at that multi-purpose path from a business perspective. So how do we drive people here? We need to market it better. If there is a lot there that we could use, we could create some signage, explore Point Edward and loop all the businesses together, do some sort of scavenger hunt, park once in a patio passport. If there's a sign there with a map and there's 4 restaurants, and just kind of give them a map and then give them some information or education map. You know what, if you hit 2 of these restaurants along this loop, maybe it's a 3-kilometer walk or bike ride type thing. But coffee, ice cream, and river views are out. Like, there's so many different ideas and options. One of the things that with coffee, ice cream, and river views, speaking with the owner of Bridge Patisserie, I don't know if any of you have had a conversation with her, very hard to understand. But she said foot traffic is a huge part of her business. So if we can get foot traffic from outside the village coming in on a consistent basis, even if it is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type thing, or it's a beautiful summer evening and we market it in the way that we can bring people from outside in, that's how all these small businesses and the village are going to be more successful, right? Jimmy. First off, this photo is not criticism. It was purely this happened almost right after the last council meeting. I walked out and there was somebody parked from the village in a proposed parking lot. It was not meant as criticism. It was more an opportunity to provide organized solutions for residents, visitors, businesses, and village operations, right? Because this would be that area that we're talking about. This is an area, in speaking with residents, that it has gone unused. So is this a way of us maximizing something that isn't being used and that could benefit the village both short and long term? You know what, I know through public consultation, there's a mixed reaction, right? Some residents supported the proposal, some questioned taxpayer spending, and others raised unrelated village concerns. I mean, local businesses are taxpayers, we're employers, we're long-term investors in Point Edward. So we contribute to the village's tax base, employ local residents, attract visitors, and help drive our local economy. So from a small business perspective, yes, this could benefit a lot of local businesses. It could act as overflow parking. I've seen Point Brewing have events that they're going over to other private parking lots, whether it be Sarnia Produce or Marson Bowl or my parking lot. So there are business benefits with overflow parking, but there is also, it's not about investing in just one business. It is about investing in infrastructure that can benefit the entire community. Since public consultation closed, I have personally met with those business owners, like I mentioned. As of today, there are 19 small business support statements in this folder that I would prefer request that, council take that into consideration. And this is a copy for you folks. I mean, if council believes this project has merit, there may be funding opportunities aligned with tourism development, including municipal accommodation tax, which I know we talked about that in the past, that we could explore as well. So there's different options out there. The idea is, how can we use this space in this land to try and help not just our area, our business hub, but the entire village. Every dollar the village invests should create value for the community. The question is not only what this project costs, but what Point Edward gains in return. In my mind, if this project encourages more visitors, supports businesses, strengthens tourism, and maximizes the infrastructure already built, then it has the potential to deliver long-term value. I'm asking council to consider this as an investment in the future of Point Edward and keep an open mind when we're looking at those opportunities. At that point, I appreciate your time, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than willing to answer them.
Questions? Anyone?
I,
Very good.
I really like the vision, the idea for this. Putting a parking lot in won't make the vision come to life though. So how do you see that process? Is that something that is the village is taking the reins on that? Is that a community group of local businesses?
I think honestly, it would be a community group. And speaking with a lot of these businesses, they love the idea. They love the idea of how can we get that message out there. One of the things that I didn't do with any of this was go out on social media, right? So if we were to put a social media plan together, if we were to have advertisement in every small business with, hey, you know what, did you know you're 2 kilometers from this path here? People are, and I'm not speaking only from a fitness aspect, but people are more aware that they need to move, they need to be more active. So looking at it and saying, hey, it's a beautiful Sunday morning, it's a beautiful Saturday afternoon, we can take our kids down to that parking lot and spend a couple hours in Point Edward, right? I think there's a lot of potential there, and it would be something that I would head up myself, where I'd say, okay, let's bring together all the business owners and their employees, and let's put pen to paper, come up with some ideas, and how can we all help each other out?
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Councilman Duke?
When this was presented to us back in March, Deputy Mayor Grimes brought this forward, that it was going to be a parking lot for overflow parking for the businesses. And it seems to have morphed into something else. You know, I know it's a spare piece of land today. Point Edward population is going to double, possibly triple in the next number of years. That's municipal property, public works office. Chances are we're going to need that for expansion. You know, that's one thing. Another thing is taxpayers. We're all taxpayers in the village. And there was a lot of pushback on that if you've read through. And myself being a taxpayer, I'm not happy about paying for business parking. Businesses are responsible for their own parking based on zoning requirements and that, right? And I'm not a proponent of this. I don't have support for it. There's lots of safety issues been brought up. And let's see, I got a whole list of things here. When you developed this plan, did you develop it with our staff or just yourself? Did you liaison with anybody else?
I spoke with a few other local businesses, but that's
No, just businesses,
Yeah.
not staff or administration or
Nope.
whatever. Okay, because I was led to believe that this plan was going to be developed by going to like TSL, the Trails Committee, which I'm a member of, and I've never heard a word in 4 months from anything. So this was, when I saw this on Thursday, I was shocked.
Yeah, no, this is something
Because I like, you know, it was, excuse me, as I said, it was a parking lot. And now it's morphed into something else. And
well, if I don't mean to interrupt,
No.
to answer your original question, I mean, absolutely, it was originally, the idea was overflow parking. But just like when you look at business and you look at ideas, I think you have to look at it and be like, okay, how can I look bigger picture? How can I look at how can this not only benefit business, but the entire village? So yes, it absolutely was overflow parking in the beginning, but as things progress and as ideas happen, right? I mean, I'm looking at it, it's like, okay, yeah, I always advertise people can leave my front door, turn right, go down now the multi-purpose path, down around the bridge and back to the gym, and it's exactly 3 kilometers. So I've always used that for the last 18 years. Well, if you keep going half a kilometer up the road and half a kilometer back, there's a lot more businesses. So with that multi-purpose path there now, let's service that multi-purpose path from our end of the business hub and try and drive people both ways. So yes, absolutely, it was overflow parking. To your idea of creating this was something, I did this all myself. It was, okay, I mean, I'm not the techiest guy. That map probably took me longer than it would take most people, but it was something like small business needs to support small business, right? And if we can drive people to the village to support small business and get more tourism within the village, we all benefit from it. At the same time, if this is, and the signage, I knew that was a big thing. That would be something I'd love to work alongside you and whoever else would be responsible for that. I'm here not to say this is the idea, it's done and it's perfect. I'm here to say this is the idea. I'm here willing to work alongside you and whomever else. Because the village could really benefit from something like this. And not only short, but long term. And I think it's something that if we work together, we could really figure out the finer details.
I think that could happen too, but each business has their individual lots, so I don't see the need for a community lot. You know, it's, as I said, like, I'd like to see that space kept because when it was growing.
The common thread, sorry, again, the common thread that a lot of the business said when they talked about this community lot was foot traffic. If we can get more foot traffic, right? Because if parking downtown is really, really busy and somebody who is more maybe activity prone, maybe they park there and they do walk that 2 kilometers. At the same time, parking downtown can get pretty hectic at the same time, right? You've got that lot right across the street where Balmoral was taken down. I actually have a support statement from the owners of that land that lot is being illegally parked on day to day, right? So there's what happens if they ever develop that. Parking could become an issue down there as well.
Yep. Now, parking is an issue in numerous places in the village, right? I'll admit to that. Let's see, anything else here? Expansion. Just that I can't support this. You know, I don't see the need. I understand the businesses. The businesses seem to be thriving down there without this lot. So I don't see the need to spend taxpayers' money on this. And besides, we don't even have the money. We have to borrow this money to build this. And we've got other financial, you know, implications. We've got a road to finish paving. You know, we've got fire hydrants need replacing. You know, so as a taxpayer, I want my money to go to something that I, as a taxpayer, will benefit from. I won't benefit from this.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. And I mean, I'm a taxpayer as well. And looking at it, and I mean, these small businesses, like I said, we invest all the time into this village. So looking at it from a business perspective, it could be beneficial. But as a resident, I can completely understand that as well. I think it's one of those things that there's a way, whether it, I can't tell you how to spend obviously village money or anything like that. Is that map tax something that we look at? Is it a combination of both? I don't know. I'm just here purely out of it from an idea perspective, just saying, okay, this is something that I think could benefit the village short and long term. And how can we kind of further that conversation and work from there?
I appreciate the work you put into this and that. And I think the idea is good, but not the parking lot. You know.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor Grimes?
Thank you, Mary Ann. Through you, Jody, can you just walk us through some history of what you've done to address parking for your business in the area? Like either working with neighboring businesses or how you've tried to address this?
Yeah, I mean, we've done quite a bit. I mean, unless you know, it doesn't seem like anything large, but like we've worked with Point Brewing in the past. I actually plow their parking lot this wintertime free of charge so we can use their parking spaces. Along with Fabry Tile, I plow their parking lot so we can use their parking lot as well. Now, Fabry, that could get interesting as they're doing a big 7,000 square foot expansion here. It was supposed to start about 3 months ago, so I'm not sure what the holdup there is, but So we've worked alongside them. At the same time, the LCBO is one of those spots, they're under new management, I guess. So we had the okay from them to use their parking lot, and new management came in, and basically after 7-8 years, they said they'd prefer us not to park in their parking lot. At the same time, we completely reconfigured our parking lot after obviously construction and whatnot to angled parking, and redesigned it that way. So we have worked with other neighboring businesses. The one caveat being, now that Ma and Pa's Diner are there, that's created a little bit of an issue with people from them now using our lot, which I've have kind of expressed more of the liability concern from that. If one of their patrons slip and fall in my parking lot, even though it's been salted and plowed and whatnot, what are the liabilities there? So I have tried to work a lot with our obviously neighboring businesses, and a lot of times it's been a case of me giving up my time and time at 3 o'clock in the morning to go in and plow and whatnot. But it does benefit them and us, obviously.
Just to follow.
Sure.
Have you approached or worked with Marson Bowl at all on their large lot at the corner?
Yeah, I do know Jen and Jeff. And again, their statements in here as well. We have talked with them. Again, I think the biggest thing, and I actually have an email out to my insurance company, is it's a liability thing when you're using other people's lots, right? So especially private property, right? So it's looking at it, and yeah, I mean, they're closed in the summertime. Their lot on a Saturday and Friday afternoon, like it's busy. I mean, they're short in parking as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, certainly I've chatted with Jen. I was chatting with her today just over text about a few other projects that we talked about doing together. So
Okay.
I don't really have a question. It's more of just observations. I voted against this originally. I don't know if I made my points then, but it's worth saying my concerns are safety related. I don't think, like, your presentation was very nice. I really do appreciate the work that you put into it. And that could be something we use as a template, but somewhere else. My concern is people crossing the road on the curve. I've said that before. My concern is people driving their cars to establishments that serve alcohol. I don't think that's good overflow parking. I don't think that's a good look. Most lawyers that do planning applications will try to reduce parking for things like that. My other concern too, and it's public knowledge, is we've got some litigation we have to deal with too with this whole project, and I don't think it's a good look for us right now to be able to go ahead and add more money to this project. So that's where I'm against it. When my daughter was in grade 8 at Bridgeview, we did Amazing Race Point Edward.
I remember that.
That's very much what you're talking about. And we did questions, and they had all these little stops lined up, and everybody rode their bikes, and it was only the grade 7 and 8 kids. If I had younger kids, I don't ever imagine myself parking at the curve on St. Clair and Light Street and taking them all the way down St. Clair with the diesel trucks backed up, the livestock squealing that's going to go over the bridge, the garbage trucks. It's not exactly the scenic route of Point Edward. And I grew up on St. Clair Street, and I'm still there all the time. And it's not really, I don't think your project is a nice idea, but I don't think it's suited for that location.
Okay.
And I would continue to be against adding parking in that area.
Yeah, and I can understand that. And I mean, the spitballing, but certain ideas of slowing people down on St. Clair is, and I don't know logistics of it, is put like a 3-season speed bump at the start and end of both ends of so people are actively slowing down. I mean, people are already slowing down with the narrowed lanes. But if there was a parking lot, how do we make it safe? Maybe it is a 3-season speed bump that can be removed. Again, maybe it's something that we need to get together and figure out, how do we make it safe? But again, it's the idea, and it's figuring out what can we do to kind of keep going down that road, right? So, and I appreciate, and I agreed with you with a lot of your safety, and one quick thing is they actually did a community parking lot in Midland, Ontario about 4 or 5 years ago. And I would say similar, not the exact same situation as this. And it did end up becoming very popular because people used it as a destination and then went and visited a lot of those shops. So it was more so looking at those trailheads and kind of using that waterfront territory and giving people a destination from outside the community to use it. So yeah, I appreciate your comments, and I agree with you. It's whether or not we can figure out a way to make it safe.
So when originally we discussed, so our meeting was to discuss what would be the possibility. We never said we were gonna build a parking lot. We said, what would be the possibility? Let's look at this. So then it expanded into this idea, but what I was in favor of at the beginning, we're talking about the potential for the parking lot was because we had reduced parking on the road at places like where Mom Paul is
Mhm.
and homes along there. And it was a way to put something back to support businesses in the area. And then you took it from there to develop it into another purpose. So I still say could be reviewed more to look at funding. And then I'd suggested the charging station, because we didn't put one in. A few years ago, we talked about putting it down at the river and we didn't take advantage of a grant. And I know I had a visitor a while ago for a business meeting, and he needed to charge his car. And I took him over to tourism because that's the only place I knew.
Mhm.
Now I think there's a couple at the hotels.
Yeah.
Because they got a grant, but I thought we could look at a grant for a charging station and have that too as another addition, but I still want to explore the idea. And even on the cost, like, Mike went out and got a price for this idea, but maybe it doesn't have to be that much. Maybe it can be less. I don't know. It was just, we needed something to work with to kick it off for discussion. Right? So we didn't say that it's this price, it's potentially this price.
Yeah, and I would be willing to help out in any respect. I mean, obviously being in business as long as my company has been, and I've been part of it for 26 years now. I mean, we all have contacts. So if it's something that you want me to reach out to different contacts, I mean, I never go on the first quote, right? So it's like, where can we save? What can we do? And I mean, Mike and I've talked about that too, right? So, yeah, I'm willing to help out anyway. So
As I said, I would like to see it live for some more exploring and discussion, but that's my opinion.
I have another follow-up.
Councilman Duke?
Have you ever looked at 517 Louisa, the old church property? That parking lot sat empty since 2012.
honestly, no, I didn't even know it was.
There's been nothing in that parking lot. The nursing school was there. It moved out in 2012. That parking lot sat empty. It's right, you know where it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And there's a crosswalk right across Helena through the Fabria parking back into your place.
Yeah.
So not a busy street, easy access.
Yeah.
Safer.
Certainly would
So,
look at it. for sure.
it just popped into my mind. I was driving around the other day and I thought, hey, right there.
I didn't even know. You
yeah.
don't see it need
It's
it.
a private owner and
It's a private owner.
he had a
You could-
plan, which hasn't happened,
Yeah,
but he had a plan to develop it.
but it's an empty space,
Mhm.
not being used. So I don't know, just maybe a possibility, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So we talked about supporting, we don't have a motion or a mover or a seconder, yet we're all debating something. So are we gonna go to a motion, or are we just gonna receive and file Jordy's presentation? Where are we headed with this? So I do have comments if we get to a motion, but
I think originally we were hoping to do some fact finding, get some more information. Sounds like we are still in that same place, so I wouldn't personally make a motion to in either direction at this point.
the only reason I raise this is if we plan on going ahead, this is parking lot building season, not, because we're not back till the end of September. If we are going to vote this down, let's do it and let let's find other alternatives or let the businesses know, because if we drag this out for another 60 days plus, this has been around for a long time, this idea. Councilor Monty said, we started this in March, it's gonna be September if we don't do something tonight, so. That's all I'm trying to clarify.
So from a procedural standpoint, we've had a presentation where counselors have made comments. I would say if there's no more questions for Jordy, then there's other members of the public, we would normally give them the opportunity to speak to the issue as well. And then it's, at the end of that discussion, if there are any other comments to be made, then council would provide further direction where to go next. If they want more information, if they want to, we have an estimate from a contract or from an engineer. Quite often the next step forward, if there is direction to go forward with the project, would be to go to tender. And then you get some more concrete ideas of what the costs are going to be. Tender engineers' estimates can be wildly different than the actual estimates, or they can be, you just don't know. Sometimes they're a lot lower, sometimes they're a lot higher, sometimes they're bang on. You don't know until you go and get the information. So I guess my thought is if there's any more questions for Jordy, then we do that. If not, then we open up the floor a little bit to see if there's other members of the public that want to make comments, and then move on from there.
Because one of the things that got raised tonight was mat tax. We'd really never discussed this in terms of mat tax. We talked about it as part of the project and grant funding. So if we take the time to explore any of those opportunities, so it could be a spring bill. If it were to go. And we have election coming up in October, so you may want to slow it down and let whatever the next council will make the final decision. Just some thoughts.
Yeah, I would remind council, something like this is not a budgeted item. So depending on what happens come August 21st, which is nomination day, depending on, there are financial decisions that cannot be made after that date, depending on who's on August 21st, it's potentially who's around the table, and there's guidelines. So if we know for sure that two of you won't be back, then we're done. We cannot decide to spend this amount of money after August 21st. So
Then that would, if that's the case, then no decision can be made till November.
that's right.
Right. At the earliest, right? Swearing's in mid-November.
November 17th is the date I have scheduled for the inaugural meeting and swearing of new council.
Well, I prefer to table it.
I think we have to see if anybody else wants to speak.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Great. I forgot to say something else too. We did receive 20 letters. Some supporting, some not supporting we put a note out to the public. So we do have 20 letters that are available here.
Can I put this in for
Oh, yeah.
consideration?
and then
That's from
we can
small
add
businesses.
businesses.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak? Mr. McKenzie?
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm almost afraid to start. Just listening to what, there's so much information that I didn't even know before I came here tonight. I think one of the biggest issues here is that I see it from the public is a light St. Clair Street project. We've had a little bit of problem as a village with it. It's gone a long time, it's gone a lot of money, it's gone over budget. And I think people out there are just tying this right to it, whether they should or not, that's another story, but I think that's one of the biggest issues out there. Listening to Mr. Bettridge talk that some of the issues about sharing parking lots and doing this. The one voice you said that you would, willing to be look at sharing parking lots with different businesses with that, and the next one, you're afraid of them coming on your property and getting hurt for a liability. And I think that's a big thing that the village got to look at too. That that is a public parking lot, and there is a lot of liability if they put it in there and they call it a public parking lot. That liabilities, when things get into litigation, they always go after the person with the biggest pockets. And the biggest pockets is the village of Point Edward. So I think that's another issue that they have to look at. There's a lot of parking around Point Edward that doesn't get used, even the street parking. You look at Canada Day, for example. This village fills up with vehicles from all over the place, and they park on our streets. If people want to tour Village of Point Edward, they can park on any street, pull their bikes out, and they're basically on a walkway almost anywhere. So I think that's another thing they can look at. As far as the village right now, I think personally, they should deal with it tonight. I think they should, it's been enough months. Deal with it. It's either good or bad, one way or the other. Some people are gonna be happy, some people are gonna be sad, but I think that's just the way it's gonna go. And I think I'll leave it at that.
Anyone else?
I have a question for you,
Yeah.
staff. Can a parking lot even be built on that property? By the zoning, with the zoning, has anybody looked into that? Have we got planning involved?
Planning has not been involved,
So
but
we
yeah,
don't even
so
know if
no.
it's a possibility, we'd have to rezone.
I don't think so.
So the first thing is municipalities are not subject to planning
Okay,
approvals, so.
okay, I wasn't aware of
If,
that.
if we,
Since
you know,
it is,
it's-
it's municipal property,
Right.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there someone prepared to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we do not proceed further with this parking proposal.
I'll second that.
Like a recorded vote, please.
I have comments based on the motion. So I wrote these down just because of everything's going on, so I'm just gonna read a bit. I just want to thank everyone that took time to appear before council, submit the comments and speak with us throughout the process. Whether you support or oppose, the participants helped ensure council has the information needed to make an informed decision tonight. I want to acknowledge Jordy and a great presentation and for the conversation that we've had throughout the process. Appreciate the feedback. When Jordy first shared the vision, I was very intrigued. The idea wasn't simply creating additional parking. It was about creating a welcoming space that could encourage visitors to discover more Point Edward, support our local businesses and showcase everything our community has to offer. I thought it was a creative idea, still do. It's a great example of thinking outside the box. I continue to believe that wayfinding signage, visitor information, finding new ways to encourage people to explore our community are worthwhile objectives. Those are ideas I hope council and the next council can continue to pursue. I think there's great strength in that. Where my thinking evolved wasn't on the vision, it was on whether this is the right location to achieve it. The more I reviewed the proposal, went over Jordy's plan, the more I found myself separating the concept from the site. I remain supportive of enhancing tourism and promoting our businesses, but I'm simply not convinced this parcel of land would become the gateway or destination that was envisioned. Visitors generally choose where they park based on where they intend to begin their visit. And I'm not fully persuaded that this location would change that behavior. With that in mind, I fully supported asking staff to investigate the proposal further. It wasn't an endorsement of building the parking lot, it was an endorsement of doing our due diligence. I always believe that good decisions require good information, and I believed it was important to understand the costs, the planning implications, the operational impacts, and most importantly, hear from our residents. My first concern aligns with Councillor Burgess's, and that's traffic safety. Council will remember that during the St. Clair Street reconstruction, our consulting engineer recommended reducing the number of driveways to improve safety and traffic flow. Council ultimately chose to retain additional access points after hearing from the affected businesses, and we were advised that doing so would reduce some of the safety benefits of the project. Staff also told us that sharing the existing public works entrance is not feasible, meaning this proposal would require the new driveway onto St. Clair Street. It's important to remember that the construction of St. Clair Street was never designed around the concept of a municipally owned parking lot at this location. The roadway geometry, traffic movements, and pedestrian safety features were all planned without that use being contemplated. Introducing a new access point to serve a municipal parking lot after the roadway's been completed, or 90% completed, raises legitimate planning and traffic safety concerns. I also considered the EV charging station. I fully appreciate the willingness to include that feature, but we've previously declined similar opportunities because of the long-term responsibility for ownership, maintenance, and operation. We've also seen neighboring communities install public EV charging stations only to remove them a few years later. That experience demonstrates how quickly technology usage patterns and operating costs can change. And I also heard clearly from many residents that they do not believe the village should be in the business of owning and operating EV charging infrastructure. But then the importance of local business, as Jordy alluded to, they provide employment, contribute significantly to our tax base, attract visitors, and help create the vibrant mix of residential and commercial activity that makes Point Edward so desirable. Supporting our business is important, and I don't believe anyone around this council team wants to see them struggle. Several residents, and Jordy alluded to that in his comments, that businesses continue exploring cooperative parking arrangements. We were already given examples within the village where neighboring businesses successfully share parking or provide overflow parking during certain hours. That may not solve every parking challenge. They demonstrate that collaboration can often provide solutions without requiring municipal capital investment. Financially, the estimated construction costs appear reasonable, but there remains uncertainty surrounding potential soil contamination, archaeological work that could increase the overall project cost. Beyond construction, the village would also assume the ongoing costs of maintenance, snow clearing, lighting, repairs, and the eventual replacement of the parking lot. But I'm also very mindful, based on, and Councillor Mondu mentioned this earlier, this is one of the last few remaining municipally owned properties in this area. Once it's developed as a parking lot, future councils lose the flexibility to consider other community needs or priorities that may emerge over time. Whether that's accommodating future municipal growth, consolidating municipal facilities to improve service delivery and operational efficiency, or responding to needs we simply can't anticipate today. Preserving flexibility has great value. I believe we should be cautious about committing one of our limited municipal properties to a single use unless we're confident it's the best long-term decision for the village. And then finally, I must recognize our legal proceedings related to St. Clair Street reconstruction. Those matters should proceed through the appropriate legal process and are entirely separate from the decision before council this evening. My decision will be based solely on the planning, financial, operational, and public policy considerations associated. So as I worked through all those considerations, I found myself arriving at a different conclusion than I had when this proposal first came forward in March. And I kept coming back to one question. It's not whether we support our businesses, we most certainly do. The question is whether constructing and maintaining a municipally funded parking lot on this property is the best and most effective way to provide that support. Our responsibility is to balance competing interests and make decisions that are in the long-term best interest of the entire community. Sometimes that means supporting a proposal. Sometimes it means acknowledging that a good idea simply isn't the right fit for a particular location. So after weighing the potential benefits to local businesses against the financial costs, traffic impacts, planning considerations, future land use, and the public feedback we received, I'm not persuaded that this proposal represents the best use of municipal resources at this time. Doesn't mean the original vision that I supported lacked merit. In fact, I still believe the ideas of promoting tourism, improving wayfinding, and encouraging visitors to explore Point Edward deserves more discussion. And I hope the next council takes that further. I just believe these objectives can be pursued more effectively through other opportunities and in other locations. So in closing, I appreciate the work staff invested in evaluating the proposal. I appreciate that it was brought forward in good faith. And for those reasons, I'll be voting against it.
Pardon? Anybody else want to speak?
Other members.
Yep. No.
Okay. Then recorded vote, Councillor Mondu,
I vote for, I gotta vote for that, for this
in favor of the
motion,
motion.
in favor of the
Yes, okay.
motion, yes.
Councillor Noctor,
In favor of the motion.
Councillor Burgess,
In favor of the motion.
Deputy Mayor Grimes,
So I said against, but I'm voting in favor of the motion.
and Mayor Hand.
I'm voting against.
Okay. So the motion carries 4 votes to 1.
Meaning, I wasn't meaning that I was voting for more exploration is what I wanted to see. Not necessarily, this wasn't a vote on a parking lot, it was letting it live longer. Thank you, Dory.
Thank you. Sure.
So I'll actually see if we.
Okay, yeah.
But I think if we just follow the agenda,
Okay,
we'll get by the time she comes in.
okay.
So we'll probably adoption. of the
Okay, we're
minutes.
moving on to adoption of the minutes. Council minutes from June the 23rd. Mover and seconder, please.
I'll move.
Second. Any questions? All in favor? Okay. Next set of minutes is from the special council meeting of July the 16th.
So move, Marion.
I'll second.
Seconded. Any questions on that one? All in favor? Okay. And council meeting from March 24th.
So just to be clear here, these minutes have already been approved and then we subsequently found an error in them. And the error, our software prepares our minutes for us. And there was a recorded vote in those minutes. And for some reason, the software didn't record it. So when we became aware of that, we went in and corrected the minutes. So that's what these are being recirculated for at this time.
Yeah, I steered someone to the minutes. I kind of felt jumped on something and I said, well, look at the minutes, it's a recorded vote. And then they said, I looked and it's not in there. So I'm glad we've corrected that.
It's fixed now. Okay, all in favor?
Oh, we need to move her in a second.
I'll move
Oh,
it.
sorry.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? It's fixed. You want me to keep going?
I think so, just.
Yes.
leave her normal.
Yeah.
You want to bring her forward?
Well.
Okay. Oh, maybe not.
I think.
Any business arising from minutes? I don't think so. Let's move on to financial reports, general operations, financial statements, June 2026.
Who's finance?
Greg.
That's- Oh, sorry.
Okay, yep.
Yeah,
Good
on
talk,
there.
yep. I move that the total revenues and general operations for the month of June 2026, they just disappeared. Yep, in the amount of 8,238,000. We do multiple things at once. $199.03 be approved, and that the total expenditures and general operations for the month of June 2026, in the amount of $1,325,445.36 be approved. You hold that there.
Yeah. I'll second it.
Since I read it from yours, it makes sense.
Any questions? All in favor? Move on to environmental.
I'll move that the total revenues of environmental services for the month of June 2026 in the amount of minus $38,740.55 be approved. And that the total expenditures in environmental services for the month of June 2026 in the amount of $206,884.05 be approved. And that updated financial statements for the month of May 2026 showing revenues of $183,986.59 and expenditures of $481,301.40 be received and filed.
Questions? No, you're just
Oh,
voting.
second.
Okay, seconded, thank you. All in favor?
Can I just make a point
Yeah.
of that, since that's a negative number, I know our auditor is here now and that was something that the auditor caught. It was a grant that we knew we weren't gonna get the end of, so get the further amount. So we wrote that off. So that's why it's a negative number. Thank you.
Nice segue.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yes, segue right into Ashley's presentation. So we have presentation of the 2025 audited financial statements.
We didn't vote, Mary.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good thing.
So just want to get you. All in favor on the environmental? Thank you. So can I have someone, a mover and seconder?
I'll move that
invite
Ashley
Ashley
comes forward.
Okay,
Thanks, second.
Ashley, if you could come up here, please. And Ashley's from MNP and she's presenting our 2025 results, audited results.
Thank you for having me here today. Perfect. So Jim, yeah, if you just want to stop on that statement there, that's perfect. So we have provided our audit findings letter as well as the financial statement package to go through. I can confirm that we have remained independent throughout the engagement. We've put forward draft statements for presentation review by council here today. In terms of our engagement status, we have substantially completed our engagement. There are some follow-up items that we're required to do around subsequent events. We have our legal letter confirmations, management representation, just to ensure that we've captured all of the events up into date of approval. In terms of any significant reporting matters, nothing's come to our attention to report, no significant issues or findings. As general, working with management and just kind of talking through some cash flow management pieces, treasury management reserves, but have comfort that management is definitely kind of monitoring all of those pieces and has all of those pieces kind of reviewed and under control there. So just a couple items on the financial side that I will highlight. So looking at the statement of financial position on the screen, you'll notice there that total financial assets for the year, 9,762,000. Financial liabilities were 3,344,000. So net financial assets was 6,418,000. Non-financial assets, which consist of your tangible capital assets and prepaid expenses, were 32,631,000. So taking all of those items into account, the accumulated surplus for the village at the end of 2025 was 39,049,000, up from the previous year. The next statement there, I'll just quickly go through as well. Total revenues for the year for the village was 9,301,000, with offsetting expenses of 8,224,000. This related to an annual surplus of 1,077,000, which you'll note there did increase the annual surplus, and there is that equity adjustment in the law's ownership as well. That does change year over year. So factoring all of those items into account, we come to the surplus that I mentioned previously of the 39,049,000. The statements themselves remain consistent with previous years in terms of accounting policies and disclosures that are applied. There is an upcoming change to the financial statement presentation required by PSAP that you'll see roll through in 2027 as kind of the first year item there. Nothing significantly changed in these statements. We have provided a clean opinion that the financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with the public sector accounting standards as of December 31st, 2025.
Any questions of Ashley? Thank you very
Perfect.
much for coming and presenting to us.
Of course. Thank you.
So we typically would have a motion now to,
Stephen Bach.
to accept the
Accept it.
audited financial statements.
So I'll move that, Marion.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay,
Or whatever.
all in favor? Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to committee reports. First one is operations from July 14th, sorry.
Move that the minutes of the operation committee meeting held July 14th, 2026 be approved as circulated.
Second that.
Any questions?
3. Under new business number 2, regarding the fences and gates at the parks, the minutes state that we need to complete a public consultation process. From feedback from the insurance company, they said it needed. Did we do that process before we removed all the gates?
Which item was it? Sorry.
The operations new business item 2. Or is that an error in the? It says, based on feedback from the insurance company, a public consultation process would be needed before any changes are made to the fences or gates.
I haven't reached out to the insurance company, so I'm not sure.
I'm just reading what I read.
Yeah,
I think I asked the question because we removed gates, and I remember asking the question, do we need all of our parks completely fenced? I was thinking about opening them up, and I think that's where that came in. It wasn't necessarily about the gates being removed.
Oh,
But I said, you know, could we open them up more? Is there a requirement for them to be surrounded by chain link fence?
So it wasn't based on feedback. It's saying we should get feedback and go through a public consultation process to see if we should be opening up our gates or our parks.
this wasn't even gates. He was talking about taking the fence
Fence,
down
yeah.
between neighbors,
Yeah.
like.
No, not between neighbors, just a corner lot, just so you can walk in from wherever you are, that you don't have to walk around or go through a gate
Yeah,
to come in.
And I remember when I was a kid, Lions Park had 8-foot fences around it, all 4 corners. And only now is the park open with, so they made big changes in fencing to the park, so.
I think we discussed it a bit, just saying that there's a lot of parks around, not just in Point Edward, that aren't fenced,
Mhm.
that you can just walk in. I know there's I think I talk about Warwick Township right across the marina in Watford. They have a nice park and it's all just wide open. It's not fenced.
Well, McCray's wide open.
Mhm.
There,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, okay,
But
that's
just
fair.
that was
Okay.
just the
Okay.
discussion we had
I
about
think
kind of opening
That
it up.
line should be completely removed
Okay,
Yeah,
from,
okay.
so if the mover is okay and the seconder, then we will remove that paragraph.
You moved
based
that,
on
right?
feedback.
You moved that, Paul?
Yeah,
And I seconded it, so are we okay with taking that line right out?
sure.
all in favor?
And then number 5, under new business, was Sandy Lane and how the residents there were not happy. Have we told the city to deal with their residents?
If I may,
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, I have spoken to the city of Sarnia, Rebecca Warren, who was the person that ran the individual event. She did report back that that was an oversight on the city of Sarnia. They will be going forward and making sure that everyone at Sandy Lane is aware of aspects that are going on going forward.
Perfect.
So they had not communicated with them at all?
I'm, again, for you, I'm not sure that all of the communication strategies have been followed.
Oh, okay.
I believe that some have been done, but again, that is.
Okay,
on the
thank you.
city's
I didn't realize that.
Just for the record, we hand delivered letters to our residents and it sounds like the other end of the street may not have been as thorough, right?
Again, Mayor, that is correct, yes, everyone's.
Okay, and then number 7, thank you for the report on the pergola. Appreciate that we're going to. Have we checked the roof as well? Because when I drive by, it looks like there's missing stuff. Shingles.
Through the mayor, we will make sure that every single aspect of the pergola is it is structurally sound, and if there is any repairs that will be necessary, we will make sure that they're.
Okay. That's all, Mary Ann. Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor? Move on to fire.
Eventually.
Yours blank too. It's a good excuse to go with.
My internet's running. I will move that the minutes of the fire committee meeting held July 14th, 2026 to be approved as circulated.
I'll second that.
Second it. Councilor Mandu.
I have a question, please.
Mhm.
I'm trying to find it, but the chief, the deputy chief made a report on the fire hydrants. Was that in here or was that?
Nope, that is in here.
Okay, there was no cost. What's the project cost for 31 fire hydrants?
Through the mayor, it was an idea, that I discussed with Jason from wastewater. That some of the hydrants that are in existence in the village are on 2-foot, not a
Yep,
4-foot.
yep.
So it was more of just to bring it to light and see if there was buy-in to pursue it further.
So we haven't got to a
There was a
ballpark number.
ballpark figure that we had discussed, but it would be a budgeted item moving forward in 2027.
Just that we're being asked to approve it in principle, but we don't have a number. So
There was a number between 8,000 and 10,000 was in the report
per hydrant.
per hydrant,
All right,
but it wasn't, it would need to be confirmed.
we need to be flushed out.
So,
I saw it went past.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor? Environmental Services, meeting of July 14th.
I'll move that the minutes of the Environmental Services Committee held July 14th, 2026 be approved as circulated.
1 second.
And I just got 2 brief comments on that. And The manager of environmental services is gonna reach out to the county to discuss the road work. Upcoming parking lot entrance at Waterfront Park. And also, there was a health and safety incident at the water treatment plant again, some concrete fell, and they're not sure exactly where it came from up there on. But there's gonna be an investigation of that. The federal bitch will have their staff investigate and report back to the manager of environmental services. That's my report. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? And finance?
I'll move that the finance committee minutes from whatever dates on the screen be approved. July 14th be approved as circulated.
I'll second that.
Council Burgess?
And I hate to say there were no highlights, but there really weren't. The 150th anniversary committee is continuing to meet. Our next meeting is Tuesday, August 4th. And we will be moving forward with a contractor to conduct door-to-door canvassing to sell dog tags. And that's it.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Move on to miscellaneous reports, receive and file on building permits.
I'll move item 1.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Okay. The OPP detachment board,
I'll move that the report be received and filed.
I'll second that.
any questions?
I just have a comment.
Yep.
So we are working with Inspector Stewart on a lot of new initiatives. We're finding he's very responsive. We did his mid-year performance review, which went well. On the weekend, he committed to had 2 officers attend the lacrosse tournament. Mayor Hand was there when they came in.
They did.
It's well received. On the weekend, I had a resident talk to me about, saw them doing traffic stops on loud cars on Michigan Avenue under the bridge, very high profile and very good. And the board wrote a letter to the Ministry of Transportation. The board pitched it to us, and Mayor Hand and I advocated with the board to challenge the increase in speed limit to 110 all the way up to the Colburn Road. And we got a letter back, I think everyone's been copied on it, that they're going to now go to 4 staged speed reductions in that as you approach the bridge. So it'll go from 110, go to 100 at Blackwell. It'll go to 90 at Moldland Road. It will go to 70 as it approaches Colburn Road, and then to 50 at the bridge. So we went from 110 down to 70. Now we have these 4 stages. And so it was good news across the board that the ministry was aware of that and acknowledged it and has added that 4th step down. So we're happy with that outcome.
Yeah, it was a good move because Sarnia had looked to get it stopped temporarily for investigation, and they didn't get anywhere with that, but we did get the 4th stop, so the 4th reduction. So at least there was some kind of understanding of the situation and listening to the residents. Okay, all in favor? Communications receive and file, channel 1 through 5.
I'll move that.
Thank
I'll
you.
second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, new business. Review of bylaw 18 of 2024 is a question related to people modifying boulevards.
So this came up at the last council meeting, and some questions about people's ability to do landscaping on the boulevard. And at least my understanding of it was that they were felt that this bylaw did not address that. It's not addressed by not being able to landscape a boulevard. It's being addressed by not being able to landscape a road at all, which includes everything from property line to property line. So it doesn't say you can't landscape a boulevard. It says you can't landscape on any portion of the highway. So that was kind of my understanding of what was being looked for. So that is how it's dealt with. And then received, or we all received, I guess, this morning from Deputy Mayor Grimes, some comments and some thoughts on potential changes to the bylaw. Do you want to address those?
Yeah, I can talk to that. So having you explained to us that the roadway includes the boulevard, was news to me and I think others, and obviously to some residents who don't think of that as being part of a roadway, although it's clear that it is, it's municipal property. But so I think we need to strengthen it just so that it's more clear, so that when we refer people to the bylaw, if they go against it, it's more in more layman's terms or more clearly spelled out. So the number one is I just suggest that we replacing section 3(1) with, it's more direct, right? No person shall alter, remove. It just goes on and on about what you can and can't do to the actual boulevard section. And then the other one was consider adding a provision states that it shall remain as a grass surface unless otherwise approved in writing by the operations manager. And no person shall remove or replace sod or otherwise alter the composition of the boulevard without that authorization. And then we did talk about having a grandfathering provision, because we do know that there's probably a half dozen boulevards out there.
Mike was getting it audited. We know that we had 19 previously, but I
Right.
know that number's changed.
Yeah, through the
Yep.
mayor, I've had staff tour the village. I do have a list. I haven't compiled it at this point. It was just recently
Yep.
detailed, but I can certainly provide council with all that information.
So the suggestion I made was that we clearly spell out that they are grandfathered, because it wasn't in there. And then just a simple heading change so that it more refers to maintenance and alteration of boulevards versus just maintenance. So those are my 4 suggestions to make it clear that you cannot dig up. And again, I think people need to understand the reason we want to do this is if you fill the boulevard with gravel, that gravel works its way under the roadway, works its way to the sidewalk, becomes a tripping hazard. If you put big rocks out there, it can affect snowplow operations. And the other big part of it is a lot of our utilities run under those boulevards. So if somebody needs to dig up to repair a water line or cable or other services, it becomes much more involved than just digging up the grass. You got to start moving rocks and stones and the like. And then it becomes, do we have to bring it back to what the homeowner created? This clearly says that they had no right to do that. And then I also think, I didn't put this in here, but I think we keep referring to the operations manager. And I think if we make these changes, we should put operations manager or their designate in case Mike's away or we change our corporate structure or whatever. So those were my recommendations. So
I can
Nothing I do.
make, I think the statement that we need to add, to make it clear on these grandfathered properties that we will only restore it back to grass. We will not restore it to the way it was. I think we should put that in because I know we've had some discussions where we've ripped up a boulevard and people want, I want sod, I want this. No, we're just gonna do seed. We're not gonna do sod, like basic. That way, it's in writing and.
can we scroll up to that section, Jim, just so we can.
I didn't see that
No, I didn't have it there. No. So
specifically in there, but I think it should be.
number 2. Go down to number 2. Oh, the grandfather, yeah. So
Yeah, I think it's more, if I may, what Councillor Mondu is suggesting, we add another clause that says if the village is doing reconstruction, we will restore it to a grassed area,
Yes.
nothing else, and
That's
then
right.
it's doing.
It's seed, right? That's our standard, is seeded,
Yeah.
not sod.
So
Well.
Is it-
Yeah.
No?
I would-
No,
I've never noticed it ever seedable or.
no.
I saw my neighbor got grass.
Oh, really?
I'm sure he
Okay.
did.
Always
Well,
thought the standard
It's
was
legal
seed.
now.
Oh,
Okay,
Yeah, so
well,
that
let's
could go
be
in the grandfather.
specific so we know,
Yeah,
right? Because obviously I don't.
I have a question. In one of these grandfathered addresses, what happens if the house is sold?
stays
Does
with
it stay with the
property.
house?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would suggest.
I just wanted to be
stick
clear.
property.
Jason?
So I know, going forward, We, in the 10, 11 years I've been here, we've never slotted what we do sewer and water. Road reconstruction, yes, but if we do sewer repair or water main repair, we have never saw it before. So I will have to, if that's council wants to do going forward, I'll have to adjust budgets going into the next year to make sure I have additional funds to saw it. And then we have to maintain water, because typically with a sod, a lot of residents will do the watering. They'll expect the village to do the watering. So that'll have to be figured in as well.
And again, for the mayor, what I would say is if there's construction projects such as Enbridge, Bell, in the construction details, it will say bring back to naturals and bring back to what was there before or better, which is typically been sod.
So do we say that it's brought back to seed or in some cases sod, depending on the circumstances, like
I think we should just leave it restored.
restored?
Restored.
Okay,
And then can be negotiated or talked about.
Okay.
I don't think we need to clarify seed or sod in a bylaw, right? You just, it'll be restored
Well,
to a grass.
yeah, I just didn't want Jason to think he had to adjust his budget to start putting grass in everywhere if he hadn't been
Well, I
doing
bought
that.
grassy the other day and it's not cheap, so it might be cheaper to put sod down than seed.
Have we caught it all?
One idea from the county property standards that helps us with enforcement of this. We get down to the penalty section. So the penalty part talks about the provincial either subject to a fine as set out in Schedule A or the maximum allowable under the Provincial Offences Act. We don't actually have a set fine schedule for this bylaw, so they're recommending we take that reference out, and that makes it easier for them to issue a fine under the Provincial Offences Act. So when I bring this bylaw back in September, that I will be removing the
That's a good catch.
fine at Schedule A. So we use this bylaw over on Alexander Street with that vehicle that's parking, leaking oil all over the street. I don't know that any fines were issued, but
Yeah,
we used this bylaw as the basis for putting a stop to that.
okay.
One of the first things mentioned is you can't be dripping oil on the road. Under prohibitions, right? No person shall permit oil, chemicals, or substances to be deposited on a road. So, or on a highway, sorry. So it
Okay.
took us a minute to find it, but we found it. Came
do
in
we
quite
need-
handy.
You need a motion to make the changes, or are you just gonna bring it back? with
No,
the
I'll-
changes?
I'll bring it back with
Okay.
the changes, yeah.
Great, perfect.
As long as everyone's,
So do we have to make a motion to receive and file it in the interim?
no,
No.
No, okay.
no.
I think in the agenda it just says to have a discussion on it.
And we've already put out a reminder
Mhm.
recently to residents about the policy, right? Just recently, in the last week or so. Thank you. All in favor then?
We-
Oh, actually, there's nothing in favor of the discussions.
Force it out.
Yeah. The next one is potential changes to compost collection.
All right, thank you, Mayor. This was a report that was requested by council just to identify our existing collection frequency when it comes down to compost within the village. What I'd asked our collection agency was to provide me as much data as they currently had in regards to all of the collection details. So what they were able to provide me was data from 2002 to current. And what that data is the tickets when our dump truck go into their lot, dump the materials that are there, and then leave. So we have the data in terms of the weight and the frequency in which our trucks actually go to the lot and dump that information over the last 4 years. So that's what the data for this report was built upon. And then the recommendation and strategy for that was built upon the data only. So I want to make that very clear with this because there are some other factors that should be considered when looking at this. But Again, the purpose was to review the compost and as I mentioned, we were looking at it. The current weekly structure runs from a capacity from April, which we started a collection process, through all the way to November. And we have dipped into December once in a while, depending on the weather conditions that are there. So you can see that between 23 and 43% of the scheduled weeks produce no load data whatsoever. So there are times in which there is zero collection data that actually is provided to our waste collection depot. So from that, those are they consider them low compost details and sometimes some 0 weeks. And as you can see, when it comes down to it, like in November and October, there's no 0 weeks. It is a very busy time, obviously, with the leaves and the brush that are down that point. But so the background methodology, as I mentioned, that's our waste company being able to provide us those details. There's specific factors and parameters that we're looking at with this. So we know that it is a weekly pickup, typically unless there's a holiday where we have to shift it. It's the beginning of April to the end of November. And again, with all of this data, those parameters were thrown into the calculations. So if we go down to the annual, if you wouldn't mind, Jim, just to slide down a little bit more to the graph, just identifies in terms of the total tonnage. So this is the total tonnage of actual compost that is provided on an annualized basis and the number of tickets. So the number of tickets are the number of visits our truck actually go to the site to drop off the compost materials. So you can see that in 2022, there was 27, and then we have ramped up. And the big one is to look at the average dump per ticket. Now, what that is, it's when the truck goes in, dumps whatever the material is, and then comes back out. Now, one of the things that should be considered is water and moisture levels, because that is not considered in any of this. This is literally just weight. So sometimes in the spring, sometimes in the fall, we'll have very, very heavy compost that comes into it. Sometimes in the middle of the summertime, it'll be very dry. So there'll be almost no weight to it to consider with this. So I wanted to identify that, and you can kind of see over specifically the last 4 years that the weight is pretty even, anywhere between 3.9 and 4.3% or tons per dump. Looking at seasonal patterns, if you scroll down further from that, this breaks it down per month in terms of what we see. Again, in this particular one is the tonnage per ticket, but then the number of tickets that come to it. April is a very, very light month across all 4 years when it has been identified, whereas November and October are very, very heavy months in terms of not only the number of tickets that are there, but also the amount of tonnage that is dumped at those locations. Where we go June, July, August, we do see quite a drop off. And again, that could be moisture levels, but it is also, as we've talked to the staff, that they typically are less. There's less pickups per time at that point. This breaks it down into quiet weeks. So you do an analysis in terms of how many weeks over those number of years do we have no dumps at no drop offs at the individual at the location where we dump off the material. So April, we have a number of quiet weeks. We have 5, and then June, July, typically, again, very high quiet weeks. So there's some times where we're just not, we're picking it up, but it's not enough of a tonnage of material to dump off. So we then just mix it with garbage, and then it is taken and dumped into the garbage realm at that point. So there's just, it's not a true collection process at that point. So from this, taking a look at it, and that's where it came into the shared vehicle. So it is understood that vehicle is not only compost, but it is garbage. So that's where that comes into play. So understanding all these details, and then breaking down to the recommendations. So from this data, it does suggest that there are opportunities for us to reduce collection strategies in April and potentially through the summer, through the June, July, and August timeframes, to go to more of a bi-weekly at that point. Again, with the recommendation, you can see the supporting evidence that there are some quiet weeks as well as the low tonnage weights that come with that. And we do know April tends to be a little bit more wet, so you consider the moisture factor and the number of pickups with that. And again, June to August, you can see you could go to a bi-weekly collection because there are a number of quiet weeks that come into that frame between 25% to about 43%. May and September are fairly heavy. And then again, the end of the year with October, November being very, very busy. Those are very, very heavy timeframes. And then December's more of the offshoot from that point. Looking at financial and operational aspects, very difficult to break down the actual financial savings that you would run into from the lack of operation of the vehicle to the staff, because it is, if staff are not on Wednesdays going to do that, particularly in those times, there's a lot of work to do within the village. So redirecting their efforts to be able to identify different projects is very feasible to be able to do. The truck itself, again, it will be operating to collect garbage at all times, all the way through the summer months and through the week. So it's not that much of an issue. It will just be redirecting the operational aspects of what happens with it. The financial considerations are not truly, we're not looking at saving $1,000 or $5,000 and being able to do this. The calculations could potentially be made, but right now they're not looking to be a heavy financial savings at that point. Looking at the residents and communication that would be necessary to implement this, you'd have to go through a fairly hefty fairly hefty communication strategy with the residents if this was something that would be interested, because this has gone on for a number of years. So changing this would be a very strong operational change, but also a big community change. So there I've put some potential identifications on how to be able to do that if it was interested. But according to the data and the conclusion that the data does support that there could potentially be some bi-weekly pickups on those quiet weeks that are shown. So if anyone has any questions.
Councilor or Deputy Mayor Grimes.
When you opened, you said this was a request from council to do this study. How did they come through committee or?
It was, Councilor Mondu had mentioned it. I believe it was in a council meeting.
I brought it up in committee as well.
Thank you.
Because I was wondering on those dusty, hot July and August days where we
That's
were
correct.
coming up with compost.
Yes.
I couldn't understand it.
Thank you.
So
Yes.
when you say the 0 weeks,
Mhm.
that doesn't mean there was zero compost. It just means that a determination was made at the shop that they didn't feel there was enough compost to take it to the yard.
That is
right?
correct.
So that puts a big hole in the data though, because we don't know how full those trucks were.
That is correct. That's why I brought that up as an option. The data is only collected according to the number of tickets that were sent to the compost site. So that's, yes, that is correct. Yes.
So we have no confirmation on those light weeks that they were truly light. It's just based on anecdotal. I don't remember collecting a lot of compost.
In speaking with staff, they're very diligent on this and they have a great history when it comes down to this. They'll identify and say the truck is 1/3 full. It's not worth the time to go and actually dump that off at compost. We will mix this with garbage and then take this to site.
And then you stated, but here's my question still, like potential operation efficiencies, but there's no real tangible benefit to the residents, right? Like they're not going to see anything change at Public Works.
No, again, from this, if there was a week where there was no collection, I would redirect staff to be able to work on other projects that are outstanding within the village.
Okay. So my feeling is all we're doing here is reducing a service that residents have become used to and accustomed to, with no value back to the taxpayer, right? If we're going to eliminate something and then we reduce taxes or whatever, or we start planting flowers in the cul-de-sacs again, then that makes sense to me. But this doesn't jive that way to me. So, and I think we're just going to create a bunch of confusion. And then I worry that if I cut my grass and it's day 1 of the 2-week wait, that grass is going to sit and rot and stink, and the bottom of the bag is going to bust out. And that's a big problem over in Sarnia. Their collection is like that. Sometimes you wait 3 weeks, sometimes you wait a week. It's all over the place. And I think the consistency is what helps residents. So I really can't support us altering our collection of compost.
Any other questions?
My question is just similar to what the deputy mayor said. I'm looking, I was looking to see if we can find some efficiencies, if there is more efficient use of staff. Again, I don't bag my grass. My lawn looks okay. So I don't live in that world. I've never put out compost in the almost 20 years I've lived in my house. I use it. My tomato plants are 6 feet tall. I make my own soil. I don't understand how people want to give it away. And that's why I was just thinking of those dry months where I know people aren't cutting their grass, but all of a sudden there's 6 bags of compost on somebody's boulevard, and I know it didn't start in Point Edward. So if we're not saving money, I hear you. If we're upsetting people that have to put out their dusty bags of dry grass for some reason, then we don't want to upset the people for no reason. Are there any efficiencies that we can come up with?
Again, I can further break down if there's a financial savings in terms of not operating the truck, and which would be the most savings. Again, it is a, we do have, during what they would call the zero times, it is a very, very busy time for Public Works. So it's difficult to be able to identify if there would be savings with that, because I would just redirect activities to work that is necessary within the.
I'm not even
village.
looking for financial savings
Yeah.
because people are still gonna come to work. I'm not looking at cutting
Yeah.
back staff or anything
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
I'm just saying, is there other projects that maybe get put on the back burner that we could, create more efficiencies for?
I can certainly go back
And that's valid. If there were 8 tangible things
Mhm.
that residents would see, so we're altering compost collection, but you will notice
Mhm.
A, B, C, D next year, right? So that makes it easier for us and for you, the staff, to sell it as a benefit to them. Right now, we're just gonna be saying compost is gonna be picked up the way it was, and we don't really know how that's gonna help us, right?
Right.
So.
And I think one of the challenges is seasonally, it's very difficult. I mean, some seasons we could have a very dry spring, so we don't have as much grass and there's not as much maintenance when it comes down to that. Or there could be much more traffic that comes down, which generates much more garbage in this. Or if we have specific projects where we've been waiting a couple years to identify that, and then staff focuses their energy on those specific projects. It's a lot that is involved depending on what is what time of the season it is, but also what years and what projects we've got to support that. So again,
Would we benefit from trying to educate residents on the fact that we should all be more like Paul? And not, because
I have 12 mature maples all the way down my property. I rake, I compost, they go into my flower beds, they go into my garden, and I use all of it.
Yeah.
And it makes my plants healthier.
Mhm.
I don't understand the difference between raking it into a bag and picking it up and then using it on your property. And maybe people don't have flower beds like I do.
Well, and I did reduce my compost this year. I've been putting it back into the grass more than I did in previous years, so I think there may be an education opportunity.
I know, it sounds like it'd be hard to quantify any further than what you've already done.
Mhm.
Like we could shift productivity to different areas, but again, it's taking away a service and not being able to define what you're actually saving, just shifting work. So I'm not sure there's an appetite for making a change like that at this point.
About the only really quantifiable savings is currently we're doing about 35 collections a year. And if we went to this system, we'd be gone down to 26 or 27. So you'd have 8 or 9 less collections, you'd save the fuel and maybe a little bit of wear and tear. Like
I just remember being told that we couldn't go away from plastic bags. Here we are not using plastic bags. So my first couple of years on council, I said, why don't we go plastic? Then we don't have the debagging fee that we were paying. And all of a sudden someone else.
We had no choice.
Right. But
They took the machine away.
I don't know. I just think maybe we can do a bit better. I don't want to upset, and I realize it's the people who answer the phone here that have to deal with the change. They don't necessarily call us and say what happened to the compost pickup. It's people who answer the phone here, and those changes aren't always easy to make. Maybe small changes make the environment a little bit better.
I would, much like we did with the parking change, if we modified the start and end dates possibly, although that's when you're busiest, right?
Yeah.
So,
I have leaves in December on my trees, like, it just, that's, some of the trees are so late dropping and it's hard. I know people have paper bags they store all winter because we start plowing snow and there's still leaves on some trees. So it's not a perfect world, but I just wanted to kind of explore it a little bit, see if there was some cost savings potentially, and throwing leaves in the dump hurts me a little bit. Like, I just think that's not the best place to put it.
Yeah,
Well, just like myself, I'm similar to Paul. Like mulch my grass, I mulch my leaves as much as I can. Like, you know, a little bit of garden waste goes out, but other than that, you know, I'd like to see less trucks on the road and that, but keep our people employed, but you know, because there's lots to do. They could be updating the
Quite a bit,
benches.
yes, quite a bit, yes. Through the mayor, there is potential to further some education as Councilor Burgess mentioned in terms of the compost. I mean, that there are some strategies that are out there that are not only provincial, but federal strategies to be able to do this. I can certainly look from staff's perspective to see what we could do in terms of education.
I appreciate the time.
and then, and if we do the education and then it
Yeah.
reduces even, we're finding we're even less compost being picked up, then I think
Can revisit.
we could revisit, but at this stage, I don't think it's the right.
So if there's no motion, just we
No.
can, I think it'd be appropriate to receive and file
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
information.
it was just for review. I'll move that.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? And again, thank you for.
Yeah, thanks for a very thorough
You know,
report.
it's interesting to see that data because we never seen it before.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any new business?
I do. Because we're going into a 2-month gap, I do have some new business here I just want to follow up on. So I'm wondering if we have an update on St. Clair Light Street and the timeline to put the top coat on and get the deficiencies done and get that project put to bed. Is there a timeline, deadline, plan?
Again, through the mayor, thank you. I was actually speaking to the environmental services manager today about this. I have spoken to our engineer, where the idea is to have a consultation with him face to face with myself and Jason to identify those deficiencies, which have been that we have a vast list. We're going to be looking at our contractor to get the warranty work done as quickly as possible. The contract or the engineer has indicated to us the longer we wait in terms of making sure those deficiencies are completed, the longer we have to make sure that within the year, those deficiencies don't cause a greater problem down the road. But I would like to see a date set for that. So that would be in regards to the deficiencies, including the ones that have been recently brought in to light. As for the top coats, there are two particular aspects that are going on. We're looking at the working with the county in terms of the reconstruction of Waterfront Park. In terms of the entrance, we're looking potentially jumping on the back of if it's such a large asphalt project that we could potentially do Light Street at the same times in terms of an addendum. That was something that we have discussed with them. But if that does not proceed, depending on some legal issues that are having, the contractor and I and Jason have also, or sorry, the engineer and I and Jason have spoken about creating an RFP to be able to go out and have that work done in terms of October.
So why would we pave Light Street as an addendum? Is Cope not doing that as part of the entire project?
No, we pulled that through the mayor. Sorry, we pulled that out of the project in terms of savings so that we could do it independently. So we don't have to pay the overall charge in regards to that. It's something that we can handle.
So Cope have delivered the road as we specified with only one coat of asphalt.
That is correct.
And then I wasn't aware of that. Okay.
Yes.
So I think what we need to do is, I think you'll never make it the end if you don't have a deadline, right? So I really hope we can get
Again, through the mayor, that is the reason that we're going to be having a sit-down meeting with the engineer next week to be able to set some hard deadlines, because as has been mentioned, I don't want to wait until we find out that there's some potential that one of the projects from the county is not able to work this year. So I want to make sure that we have a secondary plan to make sure that our top coat does go on is fiscal.
And then who would do, sorry, who would do the pavement marking then? Us as well?
Yes, everything will be identified within the project. So the RFP would include putting the top coat on as well as all markings.
Okay, okay, we are almost into August, so.
That's correct.
Yep.
Yes.
Sorry.
So there is a deadline of November though, right? Because the asphalt plant's closed first of November,
So the 1st of December typically.
first of December.
So we are looking at, our initial timeline was to make sure that it happened in October at
Okay.
some point, looking at the later portion of October.
Okay.
As there's not a lot of the traffic that is not residential at that point. So
Okay,
that was our internal deadline.
Right, so the next item I have under new business is Holmes Foundry. So I know you did speak to the property owner and they did do some grass cutting, but looks like they've left. And yet the gas station is still as high as an elephant's eye and the fence line is all overgrown. So are they coming back to finish that? Because, and there's a whole big section that never got cut in the property, so.
So the fence line, no, I would say they're not planning on coming back to do that. The former gas station property, I'll be reaching out to them about that, find out why it wasn't done. And I wasn't aware there's a big chunk in the middle of the.
Yeah, so the northwest area hasn't.
down
been-
towards Norm Perry,
Yeah, hasn't been done.
yeah.
And then
Northeast.
northeast, yes, you're correct.
Okay.
And then Mike did mention that the fence line is their responsibility and in an earlier meeting that it's not ours, so. And it's as high as the fence, the stuff around here, so.
The one, just to mention, that they did repair the fence, that we were,
Yes.
the fence that was all laid down is all back up.
Right.
Behind BDO.
And have we in any way communicated that we want to see a property maintenance plan for this property, that we don't have to keep chasing them down every year? Every year, we're chasing them down to cut the grass, and it's just not the best use of staff time, and it also looks bad. So
I brought it up to him last fall,
Yeah, it's been mentioned to them.
that like, we can't keep having to call, why don't you just say to your company, you're cutting every month, or what, I mean, I do that with my vacant land.
Mhm.
It's a schedule, I never call.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they don't operate it that way, and then their contractor says, I'm too busy to come right now.
Mhm.
We've had to wait like 3 or 4 weeks sometimes, so. We can follow up again, but I don't understand why they don't have a better plan to address it. But I assume it's cost, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a big portion of it. They're trying to spend as little money as possible.
And I can't figure out why that corner got left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Doesn't even make any
would
sense.
take about 3 minutes. to
Yeah.
do that.
Okay, so we'll leave it with you then. The third one is a couple residents have talked to me about trees. So we've got a bunch of mature trees in the village. Many of them are being brought down. Some are rotted, some are unhealthy, some are perfectly healthy. And the resident she loves her trees and it's making her upset to see perfectly healthy trees come down. There's one at Ernest and right across from Kathy Dobson's house that's coming down. It's a huge, huge tree. And it's about halfway down now. And so I'm just looking for September. Can we get maybe a report on, I know some communities have passed, it's private property, it's a private tree.
Oh, okay.
Anything to do with, yeah, it's not our.
I was gonna say, I wasn't
Yeah.
aware any
Yeah,
trees.
yeah, yeah. No, these are private property. And so I know some communities passed rules about removing tree, that people had to get permission, or they had to prove the tree was unhealthy, or but it's a slippery, I know it's their private property, it's their tree, they can do whatever they want, but we have so many mature trees that were planted when this village started that are coming down, and we're gonna lose a lot of our canopy, and they contribute so much to the community. It's just sad to see these trees go. So I don't know what other communities have done. I know some have tried it and failed as far as controlling my backyard type of thing. So I don't know if we can get some sort of just a quick report on that for September.
Yeah, I can try.
Just on that.
Why did- Maybe you could go to October, there's vacation coming up,
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Okay, yeah.
I don't want to push it.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, yeah.
You reach out to the county.
Or if you,
Yeah.
future, yeah, the county, probably the tree.
that's,
Well, they're encouraging taking down some trees,
Yes.
like Norway maples and that,
Yes.
because they're
Invasive
invasive.
species.
Like
Invasive
they're
species,
telling
yeah.
people, get rid of them.
And this might be one of those. 'cause
And
I know
maybe
we have a
that's
lot
what
of-
they're doing.
Mhm.
maybe, you know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know the tree, it's around the corner from.
Yes, yeah.
It's lifting sidewalks, it's into the power lines, like they hired a company specifically. I walk by there to go, you know, around the corner and it works on power lines.
Mike, is that the one on the corner?
Yeah, it's right on Victoria and Arthur.
I know it's huge.
They had to remove a section of their
Yeah,
fence
correct,
to
yeah.
like that. Our sidewalk, our
Yeah.
village sidewalks buckled there as
Yeah.
well, and I think it's causing a lot of havoc in that area, probably
close to the house.
maybe even for infrastructure. I don't know if they consulted us on that or not, but
And I don't want to focus on that one tree.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trees coming down, so.
just so you know, like
Oh, thank you.
I
Yes,
see them working on it the last 3 or 4 days,
Yes.
and it's a tough spot because there's a lot of infrastructure around it.
Yeah, through the mayor, I did visit the site. I did visit the site on Monday. I took a look at what they were doing to identify it as well. So, yeah.
Okay. The next one, I think we do need for September, and that's the commercial blue box collection.
Mhm.
We did approve it for 2026. Councilor Mondo, at the time we approved it, said that, you know, we need to make sure that we're revisiting this in time for 2027. So I understand budgets are being prepared now, so I think we need to address it, get the pricing, get a quote, and decide what we're doing in 2027. Are we gonna continue to fund it, or are we gonna make it go back to the commercial? Because we
Yeah.
need to give them enough time, so.
We've already got the pricing, like
Okay.
we were in a contract.
Okay,
It's just a matter of how much we pay for it.
okay.
Are we gonna build the commercial properties for it, or are we gonna pay it?
And I don't think we can wait till budget to
Fair.
make a decision, because then it will be in the new year. So I'd like to see us, if we could, at the end of September, make a decision, and then we can effectively communicate it to those businesses. Yeah, we're continuing, or go get your own blue bid.
Just a question on that, how's it going? As far as, cause I see commercial businesses putting it on Tuesday,
Yeah.
Friday, like there seems to be a mix. Is Terra, do they know what the locations they should be picking up on a
Yes,
Tuesday versus a Friday?
So through the mayor, yes,
Okay.
that they do have a list of every single business that we have identified in the village, and we have augmented that as it's come through
Okay.
this year. When we do receive the billing, we do receive every single location at that point that they billed us for during that point. So we have all of that data collected, yes.
I think you also have to recognize there are residential and commercial on the same property.
Correct.
So there's not a lot of them, but there are properties in the
Ave.
village that
Yeah.
have
That's
both.
correct.
Like Ice Cream Glory would be a perfect example of that.
Some are up
No.
here on 709 or
just-
something, 907.
Yeah, okay,
Just
thank
there's
you.
a few of them.
And follow up on Councilor Mondo's thing, if the truck drives by a commercial property, they don't stop to pick up, we're not billed for that?
That's
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct. Yeah, so in the billing, it will have, again, every single individual, it will identify what that bill according to the contract was.
okay. The next one is a resident asked me about the Sandy Lane and Albert Street crosswalk and why it doesn't have lights. And I remember the discussion when we did it. Right, so you know the one,
Oh, yeah, I do, yes.
yeah, and I didn't have a clear reason, so I'm wondering if we can get, so. She thinks it should be lit up. She's had a couple close calls there.
It's about the type of crossing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the engineered recommendation.
Yeah.
Like it was a
No,
recommendation that come from the city,
Right,
right? I'm
Well,
pretty,
It's
you weren't here.
It's before my
At
time.
that time?
Sorry.
The city and the village got together, cause being trails were involved as well,
Mhm.
to help coordinate what was going on, and it was based on, they decided based on the traffic, not cars, but the traffic across the trail, they designated what type it needed to be. So, and that was a joint effort.
And that's my street, so we're 40 km/h street, that was put into consideration. We put in speed bumps on both sides, on the Sandy Lane side and on the Alfred Street side. Everybody slows down in between those two speed bumps. I
Yeah.
have never
The
heard
speed
of a
bump
close
going
call
in
since that all
basically
came
the
in.
lights.
apparently they said they've had,
I have had lots of people not stop for me on my
Yeah.
kids who are already on the road. I'm obviously paying very close attention there, but absolutely, it's a consistent problem. Probably a third of the time.
and this resident said, her brothers had 3 close calls, in that time frame. And I think we've created a standard in the village with the lights and cars stopping better for the lights than they do for just a sign, so I don't know if we get some information on what it would take or whether it's even allowed, because I know you have to have a certain amount of traffic
Well, there's warrant.
to warrant, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's correct.
We know the cost is about $30,000 for a pair of,
For a
Light?
through the mayor, through a PXOC, that's correct, as we have, they're about $35,000 for a unit like that, that's correct, 2 units,
And if we split that with the.
that's correct,
Yeah.
they're solar powered.
Yes.
You'd have to
That with
get
the
buy-in
city.
from the city as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because of that,
If
unless we did like,
if we do lights, can we take out the speed bumps?
It, as.
Just throwing that out
It's-
there.
no,
I hate the speed bumps.
Again, through the mayor, I think this could potentially warrant some further traffic study
Yeah.
down that way. I can certainly start a discussion with the city. I do have a very strong contact in this particular area that I can contact tomorrow and start that conversation.
Yeah. yeah, because we relied on the city for all the engineering for that
I know.
crossing and the speed bumps.
our former operations manager was involved in it, but I'm
Yep.
pretty certain that it was their engineer that designed.
It was, yeah, because everything was going through the trails committee as well. We were kept up to date on it. So,
I can certainly reach out to them.
Okay, so if we can just hear back on that. And then my last one, you'll be happy to know, is the strategic plan. We started that in 2019. Jim provided us with a first draft. I know I gave feedback. I assume everyone else did. I just wonder, will we have another version for September that we can review and talk out, or where are we headed with the strategic plan?
For September, we can probably, yeah. I think we can
Would you
probably do
rather
that.
postpone it till November?
And have new council?
Well, I just, we're this late, like
Mhm.
the new people coming in would want to be involved, so it'd make more sense.
Yeah, but I think we should be providing them with a finished product, or at least I can't say a final draft, but something that is 90% along the way, and then they can fine tune it. But because I think when you develop strategic plan too, there should be like input from staff, like sharing it with staff and getting feedback so that everybody buys into it. So I think, yeah, we don't have to do it by September, but I think we've been prodding along here. I think I'd like to see it get to some sort of a further along.
Yeah, I think we can probably provide an updated version.
Update. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have for this.
May I, or I have an item?
Yep, I have only one thing, so you go
Okay.
ahead.
So our upcoming schedule, so we have our committee meetings on September 8th and regular council meeting on September 22nd. The normal schedule for October would be committee on October 13th and council on the 27th. I'm proposing that we move those 2 meetings in October ahead a week. And then it kind of gives an end.
My
To the-
Tuesdays, I have it like every Tuesday is something different.
The election is October 26th,
Mhm.
and in my mind, it'd be better to have the final council meeting of the existing council prior to the election, not the day after.
That Tuesday from 5 to 7, I am unavailable.
The
one.
20th?
before, Yes.
Or the, yeah.
So I can be flexible, but that specific time, I'm not.
So my question is, do we need to meet in October?
Well,
Because I know Sarnia, they had their
They're
last
done.
meeting
Yeah.
ever, which I think is way too premature.
Yes,
Um,
I'm not partnering after that.
but I mean, will there,
I thought about that too. I kind of assumed that council wouldn't want to not meet in October. I think, I don't think we need to schedule a meeting. If something comes along that we have to get council together, we can. I think we can, with this, we've got 6 weeks or so until the next committee meeting, so we can make a concerted effort to try and get everything that's kind of any loose ends for council, we could try and get into the September committee meetings so that we can kind of put a bow on the session of council at that time, get as much done as we can. And then if we have to meet in October, we can
Wait,
pull council.
are you
together.
saying we keep committee day on the 13th? Just can't cancel
Uh,
the
well,
27th?
To me, there's not a great deal of reason to have committee meeting if you're
Okay.
gonna have council
Okay.
to kind of, you make recommendations at committee day. Maybe what we do is have council cancel committees for October and just have a council meeting on the 13th of October. And then any business that would have come to committee could come directly to council in October. That might be a reasonable, then, the 13th is, everybody's got that day scheduled. We can bring, if there's business, like we can have the regular reports, the arena report. And we just deal with it at council that day on the 13th. And
So sort of be a committee of the whole on the 13th.
Yeah.
Council.
It would just, we just do it as a regular council meeting, but we would, instead of, having pre-approved minutes to approve at the council meeting, we would have the regular reports that would come to a committee meeting, would come directly to council for 1 month. We've talked about doing
Yeah,
that
we
on a
have.
regular basis,
Yep.
and it's always been, council has indicated they don't want to do that. We could do it this one time just because of the,
We can test drive it.
yeah. And,
So you're-
it might be a bit longer of a council meeting than normal, but
So there'd be no committee in November then? We'd be,
Not in October.
and none in
November.
November,
Not
no
November
committee in
at all?
November.
okay.
But again, a council meeting
Well, it might be
in
okay.
November, if there's something that comes up. But council, very likely the council will be lame duck after the election.
Yeah.
And then the new council can't be sworn in. The council term ends on the 15th. The new council can't be sworn in until the 15th of November. I've got it scheduled for the 17th, I believe it is.
So what happens for those 2 days?
Well,
You're the captain?
I'm the captain.
Anarchy.
Yeah.
Nothing goes wrong for the 15th, 16th, 17th.
Is it
Was it Sunday?
The 17th is a Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
So I guess my proposal would be to, after discussion, to just, instead of having a committee meeting on October 13th, have a regular council meeting modified to fit in regular committee business.
At 5 p.m.
I'm flexible, but yeah. Yeah, I think so.
We could.
Does that work for a
four,
working
maybe.
person?
It's gotta.
That's far enough in advance, I can.
But the 13th is regular. Oh,
Right, but it's
but
usually during the day,
Yeah.
but
Right.
that's fine, if that's not that soon, I can adjust that.
you can make the
With my day.
13th work. I was thinking, yeah. with-
That one I can definitely
Okay.
make that work, thank you, everybody.
We want to
Thinking of you.
4, given the potential length, or just stick with 5?
4?
4?
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
that's fine.
So I'll put out a notice, there'll be there'll be a council meeting on the 13th of October, the one on the 27th will be canceled. And committee meetings in November will be canceled. And if we need a council meeting for some purpose, we'll,
The call of the chair.
yeah. Okay, so I'll put out a notice to that effect. Thank you.
Anybody else have new business? Just a reminder that Friday is Vintage in the Village,
Another month.
another month, and just a note that the band that night is Ainsworth. So related to the Ainsworths from the village, and I've heard them are really good, so. I think it's Steve's cousin, his cousin, so. 5 o'clock,
Huron House Boys Home, is that
The charity?
the charity that's months?
hope for the weather.
Okay, sorry.
No, we gotta do
Sure.
bylaws.
Yeah.
Bylaw, number 14 of 2026. To authorize the waiving of municipal portion of property taxes on specific or specified properties.
I'll move that.
I'll second that.
I just have a question. So, like, these properties on this list, if if they change ownership or change, and like, let's say a church closes and it's no longer a church, how does their, because churches are exempt, right?
Are they? Yeah, okay.
So how do we find out that they should start paying taxes? Is it our responsibility, or when they report to MPAC, the change in ownership, does that trigger it?
So, yeah, these properties are all municipally owned except for the Point Edward Service.
Okay.
So, you know, the ones on this bylaw likely to change hands. If a church, I think there's an application they have to fill out, isn't there, Jane?
I don't think we have application every year.
Not every year.
Status, no change, just no.
Okay. And we'd hear about if a church is
Yeah.
closing or going or selling.
I would think so.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I have a question on this. How come, like, that's not all the village properties. Like, we've got the office, the fire hall, the library, public works arena, community hall.
Mhm.
They're all exempt, like they
Yeah.
don't meet the criteria for the bylaw?
Do you know an answer to that, Gene?
This one, a couple of years ago, 14 retired,
Okay.
and it's always exempt. So, but wasn't included in the bylaw, so that's why we have this one. So that's the only one item in the system, is it shows a roll number and there's a.
Cause I see they've got the one park there, yet that's more, we've got more than one park in the
Mhm.
village, right?
Yeah,
So it's just a little confusing to
when I
me,
read the list, I didn't feel it was all inclusive.
so.
It's a good question, but I can look into the system to see what's coming from. That's-
Okay,
So we can table this
Yeah.
for
Let
some
Jane,
research if you like.
was curious.
We should have a motion to
yeah, so we have a motion to
Defer.
table it,
defer, sorry.
refer,
Defer.
defer.
Motion to defer.
To
I'll move that.
give our
Second.
creditor time to investigate. All in favor?
Rory.
Defer some tax work, so give Jane some time. Okay. Bylaw 15,
And this is the bylaw to appoint members to the joint compliance audit committee for the county.
I'll move bylaw 15.
all in
I
favor?
have a question. So are all these people, you know where they came from? Are they all Sarnia County collections? or
Their
anything?
account, like, one is former clerk of Enniskillen Township. He's the only one I know personally.
Okay,
There is an advertising process
Right.
and anybody was able to apply.
okay.
Okay, all in favor?
You know, I guess one is also Brian Knott was treasurer for the city at one time and now he works for the school board.
Okay.
So I guess I don't,
I worked with him on
Behind
Blue
it,
Water
though.
Health,
yeah,
too, but he timed
maybe it
out.
was.
What's that?
That was Brian Knott, yeah.
A
Yeah,
different name. What's the name? Matei.
Brian Knott is the guy that he's from somewhere as well. Pardon?
Was the
City.
okay, so now I need a motion. To go in camera. We have a couple of items to discuss.
In second that.
Oh,
All in favor? Thanks everyone for coming.
No,